Lovely to see you. Multi-award winning leader of Kaizen Technologies. Tell us a little bit about your journey into awards.
I didn't set out with a plan of getting any awards at all. Um, I was doing KPI through the year, and you popped up on one of the sessions, and
As I
uh,
do.
as you do, and I thought I would give it a listen, but I was going in quite, I suppose, quite cynical,
Mhm.
thinking that I assume, and I guess in my circle, people often will say, oh, awards are bought or they're paid for by other companies. It doesn't really mean anything. It's, the judges' favorites, or, who pays the most money for a sponsorship.
Yeah,
Um,
there's
so I,
like that.
yeah, and I wasn't really sure if it would be that useful for us as a business. We're obviously a very small company. I think back then we were like 5 people.
Yeah.
So you obviously then think, well, if it is going to cost us money, even just to enter, is that really worth the spend versus the other things we could be spending money on when you're sort of having to watch what you're spending every month? So I went in with an open mind. Um, and you changed my mind very quickly. And I thought it was at least worth a chat about it after the session that you did. Yeah, so we're a software company essentially. So we build ticketing systems. We work with football clubs,
Yeah.
and football clubs will hire us to use our products so they can sell tickets to their fans, and obviously use the products to sell either online or over the counter, or over the phone even. And then we have lots of integrations with other systems that a football club might use, like things like access control or even printing tickets if they want to, data and marketing services. And so we're basically the source of truth in the middle,
Yeah.
collecting all of that transactional information. It's been a long time. It's like we're in our 11th year in
Yeah.
February. So it's been a while. But I mean, if you go back to the very beginning, the decision to work with clubs at that size to start with was a purely software decision, because
Yeah.
we felt that a smaller club needed less, which meant that we could build little and then get a product out there and sort of build it as we went. Working with those clubs, like just finding the first one 10 years or 11 years ago was hard, because I was often met with like the whole, well, we need to sell online because we don't sell out anyway. What's the point?
Yeah.
So there's a bit of an education process, but then you kind of find a few and they all talk to each other, and then you sort of build a few up. But what we found really quickly, like working with clubs at that size, was like ticketing in isolation isn't their biggest problem, but just generating revenue really
Mm.
is.
Yeah.
And they're not just football clubs; they are community hubs,
Yeah.
which is, people go there obviously to watch football matches, but then during the week, depending on the infrastructure around the club, it might just be a place like where they've got a clubhouse and a bar and people go and meet. It could
Mhm.
be that they run events for kids after school. It could be they've got an all-weather pitch and you've got little tournaments going on through the week as well. There's so much that happens through the week at these clubs, and it costs a lot of money to run them.
Cool.
And people overlook, basic things like floodlights cost a lot of money
Yeah.
to have them switched on 5 days a week. So it's those kinds of things where the club's always looking for new ways of being able to generate revenue. We developed a little bit of a reputation for doing a good job with the early clubs. And then during the pandemic, as you know, everything just shut down, and, social distancing became a new thing. But the clubs that we worked with were quite unique in that the government allowed people to go and watch football in person, and it was only at that particular level where you could have up to a maximum of 400 or 600 people
Mm.
in the ground. So overnight, there was this demand to go and watch these clubs, because if I support, I don't know, Man United or Liverpool, they couldn't have any people in at all. So you
Mm.
had all of these football fans desperate to go and watch a live game of football, but a capacity of 600, and you could probably have sold that, 10 times over quite comfortably, if not 1,000 times over. So that's
Yeah.
what we moved quite quickly. We did put 3 deals in place with the leagues of those clubs, and said, if you can recommend us as your official provider, we'll get these clubs set up really quickly to be able to manage the demand, because they've never ever been in a situation until now where they've had more demand than supply. And so we were able to help them to manage that.
And you're absolutely right to say it's not just about tickets, it's about revenue for them and
Yeah.
about being continuous and being available for their community. And we've talked a lot about the infrastructure around these clubs and the economy around the clubs and the difference that makes. And it really opened my eyes to how important they are in society as well. It's not necessarily, it's about connection, isn't it? And human connection, which was so.
During that pandemic, clubs were desperate to just, no one could go into the club shop, but if you could bring that club shop online, the ones that were selling tickets obviously could, but if they could also upsell merchandise or just donations in general, because there were people that just wanted to help. There were local business people who were, quite wealthy, but we had a few that would donate, £8,000, £10,000 just to keep the lights on to help the club through it. So we kind of provided that platform for them to be able to do that quite quickly. So that was really important. I think the other thing that kind of gets overlooked is just these clubs outside of the pandemic, they draw people into a town that maybe you wouldn't necessarily have any other reason to go to other than to watch a football match. And so that, like you say, the local economy, it helps to affect that, because when people come to watch a game, they go and have a bite to eat, they go for a drink. There's, other shops and buildings that benefit from the draw of those people coming into the town.
And I think, so for me, when we had these conversations, the word enabler sprung to mind. You were enabling the clubs to survive. You were enabling them to thrive, even not just in the pandemic, but obviously well after that. You were enabling communities to come together and fans to watch the sports and all the benefits around that digital transformation. The other thing that I thought was really important was you were enabling clubs to make predictions and forecasts and actually plan ahead much more for on their ticket sales than they ever could have done before, where there was a very traditional setup of come to our box office and buy your tickets from there, and people would do that, the day before or something. So actually, enabling so much.
I guess opposite ends of the scale, I felt confident because I think we prepared really well. And I think I almost felt like over prepared in that I had so much to tell the judges in quite a constrained period of time.
So in this award, you get into the final through your entry, and then you have to go and present to the judges, which is a bit like Dragon's Den, isn't it? You go into the room and you've got there. 4 judges sitting there, which can be intimidating and very nerve-wracking, but actually quite exciting as well to get your story in front of people. But you obviously did superbly, because you came out of that award with a highly commended status, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite evening for our team more than anything, because you're sat there, you look at the screen when it's your turn, and it was us, and then you've got like logos you actually have heard of in households all around the country. Vodafone, ASOS, you said.
Amazing.
I think Halfords, well-known companies, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people around the world in some cases. And you kind of feel like you should be there, and you feel like you deserve to be there. But it would be very easy if we didn't win for everyone to say, oh, well, at least you got here. To win 2 awards there was just beyond everyone's expectations. I think it gave more than the team a real lift after that, because you feel like you can compete with anyone when you're in that scenario. But I think the biggest takeaway was just like, you really undervalue what you do, because we sell tickets. Like, we work with football clubs. Every Saturday we have matches and people go and watch games, and that's me really simplifying what we do. But I think when you're forced to think about what you need to put into an award entry and what you've done, it's at that point you actually realise the impact of the work that you've been doing. Yeah, so I mean, we won. It was called the Disruptor category at the Ticketing Business Awards. That was for me special. I've worked in ticketing pretty much all my life, so like an industry award like that meant quite a lot.
Yeah,
From being involved in that industry, starting a business in it, and building something from zero to something, and then getting recognition for it was quite a big deal for me personally.
yeah,
That's kind of what started the whole like the year basically. I think those awards were in March and it
yeah,
just didn't stop from that point. So that was a great one just to really establish ourselves as a company to watch out for in an industry that we believe we can do something in. Just bigger. We're always going bigger, so that's always the plan. Is we had our team meeting yesterday and we talked about where we need to get to next. We want to constantly be scaring ourselves with the breadth of our thinking and thinking about what we want to try and get to as an end game. It should feel like it's a little bit impossible. I always say that, and
yeah,
it feel that way, but it's only looking back and seeing what you've achieved,
yeah,
you realize that it's actually possible if you
yeah,
just keep sticking to the plan that that has got you so
yeah.
far, and
Well,
then
exactly.
learning new things.
A year ago, you would never have believed you would have won all of those awards,
Yeah,
and you'd have stood head and shoulders above all of those other businesses that had entered. So even just that tells you it's possible.
definitely.
I think that's such a huge boost and motivating factor for everybody.
I think you can use awards for so many different things as a business owner. You can, since we've been winning awards, it's made people want to come and work with us. The recruitment process has been easier than it has
Really
been previously
excellent.
because you've got a bit of a reputation
Yeah,
and people know about that. And we've now been obviously known for doing a good job, but we're also known for winning awards now as well.
yeah,
And it's funny because people initially you win one or two and you're like, oh, did you pay for that? And then the next thing is, oh, you won some more. Like, oh, actually. And then at the end of the year, you've won seven. And think, wow, you must be actually doing something quite
yeah.
impressive.
That's
Um,
special.
and it's funny watching people's attitudes change through the year as that was happening. But
Absolutely.
the recruitment process, it's helped us to become a bit more trusted, I would say, for sure. It's helped us to be an established name within our industry, definitely. And it's also been great just from sort of a PR perspective, like we talked
Yeah,
about with the Customer Experience Awards, competing against those
yeah,
kinds of companies and coming out on top.
yeah,
It's a great story to be able to tell existing clients, potential clients,
yeah.
employees, everybody. So it's a great story to tell as well.
You're such a great example of somebody who's embraced something new and taken a bit of a leap of faith because it
Yeah,
is when you enter awards, you don't really know what's going to happen.
yeah,
But I'm so glad that that's paid off for you because I know that that will help you go and multiply the impact that
yeah.
you're already having. And that's so important and it's affecting so many people positively. So congratulations to you
Thank you.
and here's to another exciting winning year.
Yeah, thank you. And to be fair, we couldn't have done it without you and your team as well. I
Thank
think
you.
the way that, and it should be said, the way that you're able to extract that stuff that me and I'm sure other business owners just think, well, okay, yeah, we sold a few tickets, like whatever. But you could actually make that mean something that it obviously does mean something, but we just overlook it because it's just what we do. So
Yeah, I
that's
always
the
say
difference.
it's hard to read the label when you're on the inside of the jam jar. So
Yes.
once you're on the outside, you can really see what's happening in there.
Yeah.
And it's the same even for us, as I was just saying to you, we're writing a book, and it's really hard to look at it from the outside in, no matter who you are or what you do.
Yeah.
But you've done absolutely brilliantly. You've truly smashed it, and I love telling everyone your story. So thank you for sharing it today and for sharing it with everyone. And yeah, here's to some more wins.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.